And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Wednesday, February 5th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are on a Wednesday, and Wednesdays we get to talk about Cedarstone Bank. Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, Simple Banking, Simply Better. Bob McDonald is with us this morning. Bob, of course, President and Chief Executive Officer, CEO. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good to hear yours, and I'm sorry I can't be with you live and in person in Studio B, but I enjoy still being able to join you. When I called in this morning, I got to say hi to Billy, so please tell MJ I said hello.
She's waving back.
Okay, wonderful. Well, how have you been doing?
Doing well. I've enjoyed the warmer weather. Honestly, you and I are two who don't appreciate these 5 and 10 and 15-degree mornings.
Well, that's tough. I remember, what was it? I guess it was about a week ago when it was 5 degrees on a Wednesday morning, and that was tough. I mean, that was very difficult to operate in, was it not?
Yeah, and what was funny, I have some friends who go to Florida every year, and it snowed more where they are than it did here.
Yeah, that was crazy, seeing the snow down in the Panhandle and Panama City Beach.
Mm-hmm. That's where it was, yeah. Well, what's happening at Cedarstone Bank?
Well, we're well into the new year, of course. We, wrapped up 1 month, and we've gotten our books closed out pretty much for January, and we're off to a good start. And as you and I have been talking, 2024 was a really good year for the bank. And if it's a good year for the bank, then it means it's good for your listeners and for our customers and shareholders. And so we had really good growth, and all of our financial numbers were very positive, and we're looking forward to 2025, and we're off to a good start so far.
All right, well, that is good to hear. And, of course, we talk about getting your loan at Cedarstone, which you certainly can do. And another thing, though, that really is important, and this is going to be important wherever you decide to bank, you have to establish a relationship. Before somebody's going to lend you a big sum of money, you need to know somebody. They need to know something about you. That relationship needs to be established, right?
Well, that is exactly right, and you need to know who your banker is. And my father, Willie, who you knew very well,
mm-hmm.
Was in banking for 70 years, and he would ask people when we were out and about in the community. He would ask them, "Who's your banker?" And they would name off a bank name.
Uh-huh.
He would say, "No, I didn't ask you where you bank. I asked who is your banker." And so the point being, they couldn't name their banker, but they could name the bank that they were with. But you do need to know your banker. You need to know him or her in person. You need to know their phone number. You need to know how to contact them so you can get in touch with them anytime, any day. And that's what we're good at. We're very, we take service and response very seriously at the bank, Coleman. And so having a relationship with one of our great folks is very important.
Well, I think you have created a certain atmosphere, certain thing that is Cedarstone, and it's probably a little bit different at each of the 3 branches. I've been in all 3 of them, and I think I kind of detect a little bit different atmosphere. In Donaldson, it's different from Mount Juliet, which is different from Lebanon, but you've got the great slogan there, simple banking, simply better, and you do try to keep it simple, but the relationship, it seems so much easier to me to get established with people. You have some good people, some friendly people.
Well, we do, and the slogan represents our approach to banking, and you're right, Donaldson and Mount Juliet and Lebanon, while they are different communities and they are distinct in their own way, they still complement one another. And
mm-hmm.
so when I'm in Lebanon, I'll see our Donaldson customers, and when I'm in Donaldson, I'll see our Lebanon or Mount Juliet customers. And so the communities are different and distinct, but they are still very complementary, and all 3 of those markets deserve and demand good service.
Well, we've got another minute here. Let's talk about free checking. That's something that stands out at Cedarstone.
well, we'll wrap it up with that, Coleman, as we do each Wednesday, and we believe that a checking account is the most fundamental of all banking products, and we make it free. If you want to write checks and come into the bank and see one of our great folks, you can do that. Or if you want to do your banking online, we've got our electronic banking, Coleman, is second to none. In fact, we hear it's from folks who have accounts with other banks say that ours is the best. So it's easy to use, it's simple, it's free. And so for your listeners who don't currently bank with us, we sincerely and genuinely ask them to come by and visit. Let us talk about what it's like to do banking at Cedarstone.
All right. Well, that's a great way to end it this morning. Free checking at Cedarstone. And Bob, thanks for being with us today. Bob McDonald, President, CEO, Cedarstone Bank, Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, simple banking, simply better. All right. We are 10 minutes after the hour, and today is the 4th. Today is the 5th of February. It is a Wednesday, and that's the most important thing. The first Wednesday of the month, we feature the UT Extension Office, and we're glad to have Jessica Young with us this morning. Jessica, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I might say we are glad to have you back because
thank you.
A few weeks or a few months ago, you decided to walk away from the Extension Office, and you're back. Now, you can tell us anything you want us to know about that, but I remember you being here a time or two before, and you like to talk, and that makes for a wonderful guest. So good morning and welcome again.
Well, thank you. I did take a little hiatus, a little break, and you might remember, but I'm pretty fond of him, but I have a pretty cute 2-year-old, so we had a childcare issue, so I needed to step away for a minute and get that handled. So we have reestablished a good child care situation, which is very hard to find. But I'm back with Extension and I'm very excited to be back. So I'm covering livestock, row crops, and forages. Of course, Lucas Holman is still in the office. He's our county director and our horticulture agent. So he's the garden guru. I can help try to answer gardening questions, but I will kill a cactus. So that's not exactly my forte. So I try to stay in my lane with my cows and my hay and forages.
Well, I remember when you have come before, and at least a couple of times. I don't know. I don't have well, we've got our guest book, but I don't keep up with how many times somebody comes in it. You've been here at least a couple of times,
yes,
maybe
sir.
3 or 4, and you always did a good job describing what you were talking about. So it is nice to see you again.
Well, thank
so
you.
you come back and kind of assumed picked up where you left off, maybe.
Quite literally. So I say same office, same email address, same phone number, same content areas. Obviously, different time of the year. So dealing with this February, kind of the wet coming in, calving season, getting ready for spring forages and going into summer forages. But yes, sir, I'm still assuming the same roles and same program areas.
Well, now, do you have some cattle yourself?
Yes, sir. So we have 60 head of mama cows at home, all commercial, and we are calving. So we started calving right on January 10th, which, if you recall, is right when the snow started. Mm-hmm. But cows love to calve with that weather change, that air pressure change. So they just went right on cue. But we've been calving, and we've had a knock on wood. I won't hit your table, but knock on wood, we've had a good calving season so far. So we do commercial cattle and hay at home.
Well, you learn a lot doing it yourself, no
yes, sir,
doubt.
You do.
It gives you experience. It probably gives you answers for a lot of questions that come your way.
I think it definitely helps give a different perspective. I once had a gentleman ask me if I thought that if someone had never swam before, if they could be a good swim coach. And back then, I was really optimistic and passionate. I thought, of course they could, if they had the right passion and knowledge. But the experience definitely gives you, another piece of the pie that you can share with someone. Because really and truly, at the end of the day, you have to find what works best for you, whether that's just life, whether that's cattle or agriculture or whatever you're doing.
Well, I may have asked you this before, but I want to ask again. What is so attractive to you, or what has drawn you to livestock? Because there's not that many women, I don't think, who just really get involved with that like you are.
So 35, this is your dumb fact for the day, but 35% of farmers are women. And that number, I think it might be up to 36%. And I hope that it continues to grow. But when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a vet, specifically a large animal vet. I grew up around horses. was raised by a single mother, and she did her best to try to get me as involved with horses as she could. We couldn't afford cows, and we lived kind of in a suburb, not really in town. But I would go take care of other people's cows when they'd go out of town. I'd feed for people. I've fed everything from alpacas and llamas to cats that needed diabetic shots, basically insulin shots. So I started doing that at a young age. But livestock to me are really neat. I love cows, probably because I didn't get to grow up with them so much. But what interests me about farming in general is I love the fact that we're feeding the world. So 1% of the world's population is feeding 100% of the world's population. And it's hard work, but I just love it so much. I love taking care of cattle. I love my horses too, but my horses are not the money makers in our farming operation.
We need to go to a break, but is there a particular cattle problem that we have right now?
Just some things we can watch out with calving. The market is really, really good. So just basically making sure health-wise we're keeping all of our calves alive, and because that's an investment. So the market's great right now.
We'll talk more about that after we go to this break. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways thanks to Bates Ford and the low price tire guarantee on all tires every day. Up to 30 days after the sale, there'll be any competitors' pricing on the tires they sell. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They're clearing up a couple of accidents out here. 140 westbound over here in Hermitage near Central Pike. It's aggravating that traffic that's coming in right now from Wilson County through here in Hermitage. Again, TDOT's trying to move it as we speak, but there's some flashing lights slowing down traffic on 40 westbound at Central Pike. It's building pretty good now. 24 westbound up through the Antioch area coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. Princess Hot Chicken's got that live entertainment tonight from 6 to 9. Check it out, princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
1.5 seconds left, no timeouts. Here's your season. Negron gives it to Bird. Bird for the win! It's gone! He did it! College Hoops is back, and so is Cumberland University on the radio. Join me, John Boyce, in the booth for every Mid-South Conference game this regular and postseason for both men's and women's Phoenix basketball. Conference games are every Thursday starting at 5:30 and every Saturday starting at 1 o'clock. Phoenix basketball is right here on 98.9. Cumberland's a winner.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. We thank you for joining us. It is a Wednesday today, the 5th of February, and Jessica Young is my guest. Jessica is with the UT Extension Office and off a little more than maternity leave, but back. And you were telling me during the break it's not going to be one, a little while it's going to be another.
Yeah, so we spring calve, so I joke that I'll be calving again in May. But so Walker will be a big brother, so we're excited about that. But I might be bald by the end of the year because he is absolutely wild right now. So
you probably get questions from people. Yeah. I don't know how many cattle growers, cattle producers that we have here in Wilson County, but there are a number, and a lot of people do their agriculture, whether it's whatever kind of farming it is, but they do a lot of that in addition to something else. And then there's some, of course, who are just that's it. Agriculture is their livelihood and their life and the whole thing. But there are a lot of people who have some cattle that they take care of while they have a public job as well. So what is there a message you got for anybody, especially you were talking about the price of beef?
Yep.
And that's good now. So is it a good time to get into that business?
So to get into it cold turkey, it depends. I would say probably not. So typically if you were to come up to me and say, hey, I want to buy a load of calves, or I want to buy some calves, grow them through the summer months and then sell them in the fall, typically what you want to do is just like stocks or just like any other business, maybe you want to buy them when they're low and sell when they're high. So it might not be the best time to go buy a load of calves. I think, we welcome anyone in ag, whether you are a full-time farmer and that is, like you were saying, your only job, so to speak, or your only source of income. A lot of people have a public job like you're talking about, like me, for example, and you farm on the side. And there are some people that have always wanted to farm, and maybe they're waiting till they retire. Maybe they're waiting till they have more time. Maybe I'm too much of a go-getter or an eager beaver, but I think it's never to go ahead and start. If you're interested in something, I think the best way to not put the cart in front of the horse is to learn about it beforehand. Sometimes I see people that move out here and have 5 or 10 acres that want cattle, and I admire that, but they don't have the right steps in place before they get the cattle, if you know what I mean. So they'll call us with an issue that maybe could have been prevented a little bit by some planning beforehand. So getting those fences set, and meeting with your extension agent, whether you're in Wilson County or not, or just another good resource. So whether you kind of have a mentor that is a full-time farmer, or you want to come talk to us at Extension, we would love to talk to you about it. But I think it's really important just to understand. It's like if you're going to adopt a puppy or a cat, you need to know what you need before you go on and bring them home. But, cattle are neat because we see a lot of people that are getting cattle, or I should say maybe like a Highland cow for a pet or something. But I think it's important to, select a breed that's going to do well in Tennessee, do well in Wilson County, and kind of see what your ultimate goal is. If you want to just have it as a pet, or if you want to sell calves, or whatever you want to do, have a plan in place.
Jessica, you have much to do with dairying.
So I cover dairy, and we have 3 dairies in Wilson County, which we're very lucky to have them.
Yeah.
So yes, sir. And dairying it's very hard. I dairied while I was in college, and I was the assistant dairy manager at MTSU for a little bit. And dairying is 365 days a year, 24/7, so to speak.
Those cows have to be milked.
And it's something that is. That they are workhorses, but they also love to work at the same time. And there's a lot of misconceptions about the dairy industry, but it's that's how we get our food source. We would not be here without dairy cattle, without beef cattle, without agriculture, period. So I still love the dairy industry. Obviously, I love ice cream and cheese, but it's so important to understand how the hard work that our dairy farmers put in and the hours that they put in.
Would that be why we only have 3 big dairies here? I guess they're relatively big, I think, but it's just so confining.
It's sad to see. So I was just telling you at the break that Lucas got me hooked on collecting old milk bottles, but Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee used to be like the dairying hub of the South. We had some major processing plants in Murfreesboro, but overall, you could go through Rutherford, Wilson, Cannon, all these surrounding counties, and there would be hundreds of dairies. People did it not just to feed their families, but also for income. So I think with that, what we're seeing is there's more milk alternatives on the market. And so things like, personally, I call them oat juice and almond juice, but I guess other people call them oat milk and almond milk. But basically, there's more milk alternatives on the market. So there's a decreased volume of demand, basically. The average age of the farmer is increasing. So we have people that are retiring from farming or passing away, unfortunately, that aren't passing their farms down to anyone. Maybe they wanted to put off having a will or a succession plan in place. God forbid something happened and they just didn't have time to put that in place. But also it's hard work, and not everyone wants to do that without 365 days a year. So it's a variety of factors. We are lucky to have our 3 dairies in Wilson County because Rutherford, for example, the MTSU dairy farm is the last dairy in Rutherford County. So in other, Cannon County, there's no dairies left. So we are very lucky to have our 3 dairies, and that's a huge part of our history and our heritage in Wilson County. So we're very appreciative of them.
Well, one maybe people who have a desire, some sort of love, maybe for the land and for even cattle. But if you do the beef cattle thing, it's a whole different world from the dairy farm.
It is. Now, at the end of the day, when I was milking, I love the cows, but at the end of the day, dairy cows still provide us with beef as well. So if you're in the dairy industry, there's still aspects of the beef industry involved in it. And certain dairies too, not just in Tennessee, but even California, Florida, Wisconsin, your big dairy states, they'll breed their dairy cows to beef bulls the older dairy cows, not to keep those calves, but to sell them for beef. So there's other alternatives of marketing your products, so your calves are still a product. But yeah, so in terms of dairy cattle versus beef cattle, obviously they're still cows. The best way I can put it is, we have selected these dairy breeds because they are so good at producing milk. It would almost be like if I don't want to pick a Chihuahua to do a Labrador or a Rottweiler's job. I don't want. Some people might pick a Chihuahua for a guard dog, but for a police dog, they might want to see a German Shepherd or a Lab for their specific jobs, whether that's scent detection or protection or whatever they're doing. So beef cattle are the same way. We pick our beef breeds because they're good at making muscle and fat and meat. Mm-hmm. Our dairy breeds are better at making milk. So that's why. But yeah, similar health issues, similar management tactics. Obviously, they vary depending on what you do. But at the end of the day, they're all still cows. So yes, sir.
Well, I guess a lot of research is still going on. I don't know how much more we need to know. It seems like they've been around long enough. We ought to know most about them. But different things come along, different ways of doing things. Maybe. Even the way they're fed and taken care of. You no doubt at least are attuned to that to some extent, doing what you do.
So we're really, even with an extension, so UT and TSU both have beef research and dairy research, as well as a variety of other research with crops and gardening and different things. And I think part of that is, our world is just ever changing. There's no way to avoid that, whether that's the weather or what our consumer wants, or we're just trying to do things more efficiently because ultimately, the world's population is increasing and the amount of farmland that we have to farm on is decreasing. So we have to increase efficiency in order to feed the world's population. So if nothing else, that alone requires research and education on that.
Some of that you just mentioned, is that a little bit scary to you?
I like a challenge. I'll say that. And to me, as when I'm talking about cattle and hay, so although you and I don't eat hay, our cattle do. Our horses do. Our pets and our livestock do. And so to me, when it comes to the hay, at home we're constantly trying to make more on what we have, but a good product, because with hay, you can grow weeds and wrap it up and bale it, and they're not going to nutritionally get anything from it, from particular plants or weeds. But also, some of it they literally can't eat. So when it comes to selling a product, I want to sell a good product. And, I encourage all hay producers, forage producers to do that as well. But from an efficiency standpoint, I don't want to spend money on diesel fuel to wrap up or bale up weeds, that my cattle can't benefit from. From the cattle aspect, I think it's exciting because you have a genetic aspect at play. So what we try to do is improve our herd through genetics. So the heifers that we keep back, we want to keep back better females, basically, than their mamas. I hate to say we're replacing their mamas, but at the end of the day, we are, So we want to constantly improve our genetics to keep back better heifers, to make better cows, to have bigger calves.
That reminds me of something that took place, and it may have been 20 years ago now, but the legislature came out with some assistance to farmers, Tennessee legislature, and this piece of legislation was known as the Better Bulls program.
TAEP. Yes, sir.
And you're talking about better heifers.
Yes, sir. Well,
better female cows.
I'll say I can't have a better heifer without a better bull, so I can't cut the boys out of the situation. But yes, sir, TAEP is still around, and that genetics program is still around as well. I will say, come October, I'll talk about it a little more. The program requirements are a little different on that TAEP program, where you have to have a master producer certification. I'll go ahead and say, if you have received a reimbursement packet in the mail for that TAEP program, and you're concerned, just make sure you have a master class certification, whether that's master beef, master farm manager. If you were working with row crops, master row crop, whatever your area is, just make sure you have a current master certification, because that is a requirement for that cost share program
Master gardener count?
Not master gardener. So there's not really a area in that. So I'm sure we're going to come out with in the future, and I'm really excited about it, is a master forage producer. Oh. So our hay producers. But a lot of the master small ruminant, master beef, master row crop, master dairy, those type of master classes, they will count for that.
Well, there is an opportunity for people to continue their education.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Farming,
yes, sir.
Through the UT extension.
Yes, sir.
And really, the University of Tennessee does offer so much there.
I agree with you.
I think it's wonderful that we have what we have there for Tennessee, and it benefits the whole state.
Yes, sir.
People avail themselves of it.
Yes, sir.
And that includes you.
Yes, sir. We do what we can, and we've got a couple classes coming out, but you just let me know when I need to stop talking.
In about 40 seconds.
All right, well, I will just slow it down, but we do have a couple events coming up. Master Small Ruminant on the Zoom. If you signed up for that, that's going to start tomorrow. And then we have a toxic plants for livestock class coming up that we can talk about as well.
Okay. Well, Jessica, you've been a delightful guest, and I hope they send you back often. I could sit here and learn a lot from you, and I'm a lot older than you are. You have learned a lot in your years, and I congratulate you on being able to explain all this and talk to us, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Jessica Young with the UT Extension Office, and that is part one of Coleman and Company. We've got Mayor Bell waiting in the wings, so stay with us for more here on Coleman and Company FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford, get a battery installed in most vehicles, $199.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Morning, clearing up this wreck westbound on Vietnam. That's at Gallatin Pike. It did slow down that traffic just a bit. All that traffic coming through Hendersonville this time of the morning. It's starting to load up pretty good on 24 westbound up through Antioch. Coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. It's gotten heavier on 40 west out of Wilson County, the Mount Juliet area, headed into Hermitage. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken has live entertainment tonight from 6 to 9. Check it out at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Simple banking, simply better. Since 2004, that's been our motto at Cedar Stone Bank. I'm Bob McDonald. We know that financial decisions can sometimes be complicated, but that doesn't mean solutions have to be. Whether you're buying a new home, renovating your existing home, or buying a car, or maybe you're a business that needs to purchase equipment for the building you operate from, we have all the technology that will allow you to do your banking online or on the telephone, or you can come in one of our beautiful branches and see our great people. With locations in Lebanon, Mount Juliet, and Nashville, Cedar Stone Bank. Simple banking, simply better.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Gregory Dental Group in Lebanon is in a new location, 1746 West Main in Lebanon, across from Sports Village. Gregory Dental Group offers cosmetic procedures, dental implant services, and digital dentures. Premium dentures in just 2 appointments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Gregory. In my office, you can count on a compassionate staff who will truly listen to you, take the time to get to know you, and discuss your personal needs.
No insurance? No problem. Call about the discount plan. Gregory Dental Group, 444-0322.
We'll have cloudy skies today with showers and a possible thunderstorm. Highs will be in the mid-60s. Occasional rain showers will continue for tonight. Lows around 60, and then rain showers continue on Thursday. A few rumbles of thunder also possible. Highs around 70. This weather forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your severe view forecast, I'm Drew Richards.
We welcome you to part 2 of Coleman and Company. Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell is here. I think I mentioned that earlier. He would be here. He is. Always gets here early. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman.
We've got a lot to talk about this morning, but I would say this. I got a call from Heather Sadler-Gallagher, director of the Lebanon Senior Citizen Center. It's a recorded message on my cell phone last night, I think it was last night, but anyway, saying that there would be no school in the Lebanon Special School District for the next 3 days.
They're out for the rest of the week.
Because of the flu. So many out with the flu. And there is somewhat of a rule that if there's no school in Lebanon Special School District, Lebanon Senior Citizen Center is closed. Now, that really has to do with snow days, more than anything else, snow days. But anyway, the message was that the center would be open nevertheless, because we don't have much of a problem with sickness or flu at the center. So we'll get that out this morning.
Well, Heather and I spoke yesterday afternoon. She called me about that, and you know, I understand when it snows, there's bad weather, and schools are closed. It's bad for everybody, you know, not just them. But as we talked about this situation, you know, right now there's no bad weather, and it seems everyone at the senior center is good. So let's keep going.
Yeah, it'll be open today. Now, in that regard, Jamie Phillips has asked me to help publicize the Valentine Gala Dinner and Auction. That is coming up on February the 15th, and you're very familiar with that.
Oh, I'll be there.
I think there are still opportunities for people to sponsor and to have buy a table if you would like, and you can call the center for more information. But it is the biggest fundraiser of the year, and it's presented by Centerwell Senior Primary Care. And again, it's Saturday, February 15th, starts at 5 p.m., and it's an evening of dinner, dessert, drinks, music by Tick Bryan, a special performance by Danny McCorkle. And, you know, they're both good.
They are. I mean, and Mr. McCorkle, he sounds just like Elvis.
Well, he his voice has a great range,
yep.
And his wife plays the machine over there. Uh-huh. He's sort of a karaoke thing in a way.
Yeah.
But it's better than karaoke. He's good. He really is. And Tick, of course, his music has been his life, not the only thing he's done.
It's been a big part of it, though.
Member of the city council, but yeah, it has. Anyway, the night does feature silent live auction items like a handmade quilt, Judge Barry Tatum's famous cheesecake, and many more exciting things. And if you want to know about sponsorship opportunities, just call the center. All right, we've got that in, and maybe a little bit more than Jamie gave me, but keep it in mind. You'll be there.
Well, I will be there, and that Valentine event is obviously it's for a great cause for the senior center, but it's a great time too. And if you've never been, you ought to go. It's not just for seniors. A lot of people go, and you can see me dance. I hope I'm better at dancing than I am cornhole. And you get
I do too.
and you get to see Tick, our mayor pro tem, in his red sequin jacket. So, but it is fun. It's a great night, and I've been going for a long time, and so please support that if you can.
All right, we had a council meeting. That's your time on this program is after each scheduled city council meeting, and it's rare that we don't have those on the first and third Tuesday nights.
Yeah, that's
just when you do, and so the next morning you're usually here, and I appreciate that, and I know you do too. Opportunity to let people know what's going on, and plus I've got. I think it's here in my stack of stuff. You've had a couple of announcements. One had to do with the beautification project, and another one that I got had to do with the sports complex, which I'm sure they're on your list. So, where you want to start?
Well, they are, and we had a city council meeting last night, so I'll start with that, which includes one of those. One of the things I always start off with, Coleman, is people who serve in our committees, who are not elected, who volunteer. And last night we had one of those appointments, our Historic Preservation Commission, which is our commission. If anything is done to a building in our historic zone, you go in front of this commission to make sure you follow the rules and regulations. And Mary Margaret Ferris has agreed to serve on that. Mary Margaret is a big part of this community. Her family has been for generations, and she was a longtime member of the Historic Lebanon Board, which is a different organization. She just retired off of that. She's a big part of the Daughters of American Revolution, a lover of history and all things like that. So
retired school teacher.
And so Mary Margaret, she has agreed to serve on that, and I really appreciate it. Her doing that, and she replaced the chair actually. Megan Michael, who served as chair, her job changed, and she was having a hard time coming, so she resigned, and Mary Margaret has agreed to come on. So I appreciate her doing that. And you mentioned the beautification package, Coleman. That's one of the things I talked about last time I was out here. Some of the things that I would like to do to beautify the city, and just the highlights of that. Work on that northeast quadrant of the square where the cabin is, and really work on that park. And
let me interrupt just. Yeah. What's been reaction of what you're wanting to do there?
Everything's been very positive. Everybody I've heard from the community who've reached out to me, and they all think, well, it's been very positive. They all think this is a really good idea, And so I really appreciate that. And so, but anyone who has ideas, please reach out to me about this or anything else. But it's been a very positive response to it.
Well, the idea maybe of moving that cabin, has that been well received?
It has. It's been well received by the council. It's been well received by the public as well. And and as I said last time, I've talked to Fillers Grove, Helen, and them about looking at it and taking it out there. And so they haven't looked at it yet, but we're going to do that. And this is something that I just see as there's green space there that I think we can use and have for people to be able to use it and have some of our events as well. Like Rock the Block. One of the things that Lee Clark talks about is, when we have those in those quadrants, we have to block those quadrants all day to set up the stage. Well, with this, we could actually put the stage in this area and not have to do that. Now, at night when the actual event is happening, you can block it off and bring in chairs and food trucks, but the actual setup, the square can function like normal all day. And while we set up. So it has advantages like that too. But it's just something that, I think is a really good step. And everyone who's reached out to me thinks the same thing. And there's other aspects of it too as well, about some new signage around town and things like that. So last night on first reading, we put in front of the city council to put out the design, not the construction, anything like that, but just get things designed so we can use that to put out a bid, and of course that would come back to council as well. So they approved that on first reading. It was unanimous, and I appreciate their support. So that was a big item last night.
Yeah.
Also, a few other things are important. One, I just want to mention quickly, out in Ward 6, there was first reading for a rezone annexation. This is out on Highway 70, just past 109. Some local people wanted to, it's about a 2 or 3 acre plot. They wanted to rezone it for the potential of putting a restaurant there. And so last night on first reading, the council approved that unanimously. The city already has the land around it, so it's not extending, our services or anything like that. And it is something that, would provide a possibility of a restaurant, which is something that people talk about a lot.
And this is past 109 on 70?
Just past 109. So
right or left?
It's on the right, just as you cross the bridge there.
Yep.
And so it's something that, it's been going through the process for a while now, but as Councilor Moorhead said last night, this is something that's, people talk about restaurants all the time. And this is another opportunity to do that. So the council, they passed that unanimously on first reading. That requires a second reading, just like the beautification does. And so those are a couple of things. Now, also last night we had a couple items that are new that I want to talk about that some counselors have actually brought up. And one of them was Councilor Phil Moorhead. Coleman, around the 4th of July in that area, the police get a lot of calls about people shooting fireworks, up until the night, past midnight. And it's a time when, people shoot fireworks for a long time, not just on July 4th, but, for a while. And so we get a lot of complaints about that. And so Phil Moorhead, he wanted to sponsor an ordinance to look at firework regulations. And so last night on first reading, it passed unanimously. But the regulations is people know that, there are tents that sell fireworks inside the city limits. This establishes their time to sell is from June 5th to July the 5th, which is a month to sell fireworks. But to shoot fireworks,
and July 5th would be clearance sale and wrap it up.
That's the day that's the day to get to get the stuff going. Yeah, and then to shoot fireworks, according to this ordinance, you can shoot fireworks from July the 1st to July the 5th, and you have to stop at 10 o'clock. So you can't do it after 10 o'clock. And so that 4 or 5 day period there, you can shoot fireworks. But anytime before that or after that, then it becomes a violation. And, and so if you do it, then police might come out.
Is that 10 p.m. on July 4th as well? Or?
It is. It's 10 p.m. every day. All those days. Now, one thing I should say about this is that, so everybody's clear, I know a lot of times people like to shoot fireworks on New Year's Eve and things like that. This establishes you can only shoot fireworks from July 1st to July 5th. That's it. So make sure everybody understands that this is not something just for the July 4th week; it's for the whole year. So again, that was presented by Phil Moorhead last night. Chief Justice, his name was on it as well, and that that passed unanimously last night.
Well, if I could, I'm not even usually up on January the 1st or December 31st at midnight. But is there a reason to not, for those that would want to celebrate it?
This is something that Phil presented, and he and Chief Justice worked on it. Yeah. They didn't talk much about it last night, but I can start to get some answers for that. But these are the regulations they came up with, and Chief Baird, the fire chief, was a part of it too, and that's what they presented. So
okay,
yeah. And then another thing,
this requires second reading.
It does require second reading in 2 weeks. Yeah. So everything I'm talking about is first reading, and then the other big thing is liquor stores. Camille Burdine, for quite a while, has wanted to put in ordinance to basically stop more liquor stores from coming to town. We have 16 operational now. There are certificates for, I think, 6 or 7 more that are not open. But people have certificates for them, and Camille, she thinks that's enough. And so Phil Moorhead, he put his name on it as well last night too. And there's a lot of details to this that I won't get into, but essentially it will stop any more liquor stores from coming to town, and it requires second reading in 2 weeks. And last night there was a lot of discussion about it. There was a motion to defer it. Joey Carmack made a motion to defer it. Chris Krause seconded. That motion to defer was defeated 4-2. And their arguments was that while it looks like we have a lot that in their wards, which are 2 of the larger wards, population-wise, I think Joey has 1 in his ward and Chris has 2 in his ward, and they want to defer it to take a look at that, and maybe we could do it by location, and also they want to take a look at the sales tax revenues that's generated by those stores. That was defeated, and then so the motion on first reading to approve this passed 4-2 with the same vote. So Chris and Joy voted against that, and the rest of them voted for that. Mm-hmm. So this is something that again, Phil, Camille's been talking about for a long time, and last night it passed on first reading.
Okay, it's time for us to take a break. Is that we got more from last night's meeting?
We'll talk about some more things.
All right, we will. Well, Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell is here. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Absolute Kubota. Write it off the lot. Write it off your taxes. Visit Absolute Kubota. Take advantage of the Section 179 tax deduction when you buy new Kubota construction equipment, tractors, RTVs, hay tools, or turf products. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Just a few more minutes on that wreck we had earlier up in Hendersonville. Westbound Vietnam vets at Gallatin Pike still finishing up a crash in Rutherford County right now. 840 westbound at Veterans Parkway as that traffic builds there in that area of Rutherford County headed towards Williamson County on 840 going westbound. LLV offers everything a fun couple or a single could want. Luxury Lifestyle Vacations offers all-inclusive resorts and cruises all over the world. Google LLVclub.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hi, Cumberland fans. My name is Trent Ducher from Kinder, North Dakota, and I'm a senior catcher on the Cumberland Phoenix baseball team. We have a big 4-game non-conference series with the Northwestern Ohio Racers coming up this weekend, and we could really use your support. So come on out to the 6 and catch a game or two. Or you can hear all the games on these radio stations or online at WANTFM.com or GoCumberlandAthletics.com. Check the CU website for game times. And remember, all veterans get in free at CU home games. And I'll see you at the 6.
It's tax time, and Cars Unlimited Tax Service is locally owned and has 33 years of experience in preparing taxes. They do upfront loans of $250 to $6,000. They're also an authorized IRS e-file provider. Call 615-449-2955 or stop by 1006 West Main Street in Lebanon. Cars Unlimited Tax Service stands ready to help you prepare your taxes. We continue here on this Wednesday, 11th. We are Rick Bell. If you joined us late, we talked about we're still talking about last night's city council meeting, which we spent quite a bit of time on, but it seemed like you had maybe a little bit more and more in depth to talk about this morning.
Well, last night was an active meeting. Sometimes when we have meetings and there's a lot of things and more internal issues that, but last night were a lot of issues that I think, people will see in the public and we need to talk about that. There was one other thing that you mentioned at the beginning there, a press release I put out about the sports complex, and I do want to talk about that. The phase one of the sports complex is something that, we're proud of, but also we want to get it done. And we've had some struggles with the contractor. Reliant Global is based out of Maryville, Tennessee, and they were the low bid. It was a good bid, and they came with all kinds of recommendations, but it's been a struggle. It's about a year late now, and the struggle has been that they've worked at times they haven't, and there's a stretch back in the late summer where it didn't rain for months and they didn't do anything, and actually they're out there doing work now, and so it's something that a lot of people ask questions about, and especially people in the soccer world, and they have the right to. And I just want everyone to know that that we're working on it. This is important to us, and so the press release.
You seem to, from the news release the other day. I mean, you're shaking the bushes, so to speak.
We are.
You want something done.
And so there was a situation happened last month, and Jeff Baines, who he's sort of our project manager on it, William Porter, Parks and Recreation Director. And I told him, I said, guys, it's time to make a move. So we got Andy Wright, and we have a consulting legal firm that we use, and we sent a letter to their bonding company, and construction. That's an important part of it, and just it's to let them know that we need to get this done, and so the bonding company and Reliant, they have 5 to 10 days to react to that letter or answer that letter. And you said it's to shake things up, let them know that we're serious about this, and also that's a first step in if we need to terminate the contract. We're going to get this thing finished whether they do it or we do it. I guarantee you that. And so
what's the problem?
It's several things, and a lot of.
Well, are they trying to do other working elsewhere?
All that speculation. They're a big company. They build things all over the world, and they do a lot of work for the federal government. And we can speculate about what the issue is. It may be they're just too busy doing other things. Maybe we're a small project for them, and we get put on the back burner. I'm not sure what it is, but whatever it is, it's a big project to us. And in fact, as I told them, this is the largest non-utility project we've ever done in the history of Lebanon. So we want it finished. We want it done nice, and we want kids playing out there. And that press release is, is just to let people know that, we're not just sitting back watching this happen. We're fighting for this park. We're fighting for these kids, and we're going to get it done. And that's really what it's all about.
Do you have any date in mind? I mean, are y'all even close to being on the same page as a finish?
We're close to it. And I don't. Actually, I don't want to throw a date out there because I really don't know. Right. They've given us some timelines that I don't think they can meet on point. But we want kids out there, and we want to get them out there as quickly as possible.
Well, weather has something to do with that, and in all due respect. But at the same time, it does seem like this is taking a while.
Well, to me, the most frustrating part was last summer, August, that time period, it was perfect weather to do construction, and now it's February, and while it's been nice this week, it could change tomorrow. This is not the time to be doing things, and so they missed a big window there where it could have been done, and that was very frustrating. And there were a few other things that happened with their company internally, and I just said, guys, it's time to make a move, and we did it, and that's really what that's about.
Well, what's the worst case scenario?
I don't know if it's worst case or best case, Coleman, but I guess the worst case scenario is we would terminate the contract, finish it ourselves. But at least if we're doing it, I know it'll get done. But I do want to, tell people.
Well,
this.
if you were going to do that, how would you'd have to hire somebody else?
See, the hard part's done. The fields. That's the specialty part. What's left is grading, finishing the turn lane on the road, paving the parking lot, finishing the buildings. Those are things people here in town can do. Now we would have to, contract it out.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people here in town who can do that work, and so. It's so if that's best case, worst case, I'm not sure.
Okay,
but
I got you.
But that would cause complications. We want them to finish it, obviously, because that'd be the simplest thing. But look, if it comes down to us doing it, we'll do it. But I also want to say this, because I want to make sure everybody understands this. Well, it's not over budget. Okay, this is not something where we're spending a bunch of money. It's still online budget wise because we've paid them for the work they've done. We have not paid them for what they haven't done. So this is not a situation where, the cash register is ringing up. In fact, for the past months, they're in the phase where, they're paying us. They're getting penalized every day. And so it's not over budget. We're still online budget-wise. It's taking longer than it should have. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating for everyone involved. And we're taking steps to end that frustration.
And this is a first phase, really. This is going to get the soccer players out of the airport and out there, and then the future, the sky maybe is the limit.
Well, the whole point was to get the soccer off the airport property.
Right.
It'll also be used for football as well. This phase one, and then I've already said as soon as we get kids out there, I would like to go ahead and start. Design of phase 2, which would be baseball and softball and maybe a few other things. So you're right, it's phase 1, but eventually we want all sports out there. Mm-hmm. That's really the ultimate goal. But we have to get this done first.
Well, that brings up, if I can inject this for a second here, what's going to happen at Baird Park?
Well, Baird Park will still be here, and because I've talked to William about that, we still need those fields too. So this is not a situation where the new fields replace the old fields. We'll use all of them.
Okay.
And he'll have a plan where he'll rotate people around, and things like that.
Well, that's good. There's quite a history at Baird's Park.
Well, it is, and I don't want to get rid of those. There's a lot of history there, and now we'll do upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things we'd want to do is the turf that's on the fields at the new complex. We'd want the same turf at Baird Park, so we'll upgrade it, but we want to keep those. There's history there. People play there for generations, and we're going to need them. We really are. And there's nothing wrong with them. We want new things too. And now, if we bring in like a tournament, we'll play them at the new complex. But for our local leagues, they'll play all over the fields, everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so we'll keep that.
So it's really an expansion.
It is for baseball, softball. Now for soccer and football, it's new fields.
Yeah.
For baseball, softball, it's an expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Well, I will say this. There was I went to an interesting event yesterday. There was a breakfast at David Lipscomb University, and it was the National Business Breakfast. They have one once a quarter. Sarah Hayes and I went to it, and this is the first one we've been to. We were invited to sit at the table with the National Business Journal, and the owner of In-N-Out Burger spoke. It was like an interview, and her name is Lindsay Snyder. And when I was telling somebody this story yesterday, they asked me, so she owns the In-N-Out Burger that's been built in Lebanon? I said, no, she owns all of them. and so she made a really good presentation, and I got to meet her and talk to her with her for a few seconds. And one of her questions was, when's the first one going to open? Where is it? And she said, later this year, and she said, I want to say this correctly, Lebanon. Now, so she said that, and so I took her word for it, and I did thank her for saying our name correctly. But I tell you though, Coleman, what I really want to say about that is she talked about business, but she also talked about faith, and one of the things people may not know about In-N-Out Burger is that on every one of their cups and their wrappers and their French fry baskets, they put Bible verses. And so they're a very faith-based company. And, and I know people have said, hey, we need sit-down restaurants. We don't need hamburger places. But I can tell you, this one is different. I mean, it really is. It's my favorite, one of my favorite restaurants in the world. When Nicole and I travel to Arizona, sometimes we always eat there. It's a lot of people's favorite. I think people are going to enjoy this, and I want people to know that, this is a restaurant that is community oriented and it's faith based oriented, and we got that straight from the owner yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And when it opens, I think people will be pleased with it.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be in front of Home Depot. Construction's already started right there at the corner of Franklin Road.
Uh-huh.
And I can tell you, there are people excited about it. I was talking to a friend of mine from Knoxville the other day, and he's excited about it in and out being within 2 hours of his house. And so it's I know people say, well, it's a fast food restaurant, and it is, but I can assure you it's more than that. They also take care of their employees. This is an organization that pays them very well. So when they open up, check it out. I think you'll like it.
So you think this is going to be a great addition to the city of Lebanon?
I'll tell you, Coleman, and I know people are going to think I'm crazy when I say this, but over the past 4 years, I feel like we've accomplished a lot. Sam's Club is coming, and we got Publix out on 109. We've done a lot of things to recruit businesses here. We have Aubrey's coming to town. There's other sit-down restaurants, and we've done a lot of things, not just in that world, but in other aspects of the city government. I'm as proud of getting in and out as I am anything we've done. That's how happy I am to get it. In fact, every time I ride by there, I'm amazed that sign is up there. And so please check it out, and I think you enjoy it. It's a type of business we want to love.
Well, our time has come and gone. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell, that's it for a Wednesday, and please join us tomorrow. Till then, I wish you a wonderful day.